Hi, I'm John Knotts, and thank you for joining us for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. We're here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, 10th of April 2016 at Metro East Community Media in Gresham, Oregon, and real close to the gateway to the beautiful Columbia Gorge. And with us we have a gentleman by the name of Preston Hileman, and we're going to chat with him. And we haven't chatted before this, so just bear with us. We're here to have fun and find something about his life, and hopefully we can share that with you folks. Preston, it's a pleasure.
Same here.
And you came in on the spur of the moment, and we're going to chat about your life. And we have not previewed anything. We have not gone over anything prior to you sitting down.
No.
And you said you don't talk a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you laugh a lot, so you're going to talk a lot.
Okay.
You laugh. I heard something a long time ago. If you really are uneasy in a theater show, or you're not sure about yourself, laugh a lot.
Oh.
It fools people.
Oh.
So if you keep laughing, everybody thinks we're both real intelligent.
Yeah, like that.
Exactly. Tell me where you're from. Where were you born?
I was born in Clay Center, Kansas.
Holy mackerel. Now, where is that located?
It's right in the middle of the United States.
Oh, right in the middle of Kansas?
Yes. And Clay Center is in the northeastern part of the state. And
is it way up like north of St. Louis, maybe?
no, Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. You're in Kansas.
Yes.
I jumped over to Missouri.
Oh, no.
Yes, I jumped over to Missouri. Well, that's a Kansas City, Missouri,
Yeah.
Kansas City, Kansas. So you're right next door neighbors.
Yeah. It's about 80 miles from Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, so you're familiar with St. Joe, Missouri, and Kansas
Yes,
City, and,
yeah.
and all of those areas. And
No, I just was born, grew up there until I was about 20, well, until I got drafted.
so you got drafted out of Kansas.
Yes.
Now, where did you go to school in Kansas?
Clay Center.
At Clay Center High School, and middle school at that time.
Yeah.
What were your favorite subjects? Well, if you're like me,
Yeah.
general studies.
Yeah.
We just took what they call the 3 R's. I never could figure that out.
Same.
Yeah, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah.
But so you graduated from high school.
Yes.
And you ended up in the military.
Well, my mom married a military guy, and I did spend the last year of high school in Nuremberg, Germany.
Aha! So your mother married a young man that was in the service and was stationed in Germany. So tell me about your experiences in Nuremberg.
Oh, it was, for being a 15-year-old kid and being able to drink a beer in the public thing was kind of neat at the time. I thought that was really, nice to have, and I enjoyed the military. I didn't think I liked the military when I was a dependent, but after I got to know how things worked, it was fun.
Well, at 15 then, you left Kansas City. You were in Nuremberg, Germany. You obviously went to school in Germany.
Yeah.
And what grades were you in school there?
Just junior and senior.
So you actually graduated in Nuremberg?
Yeah.
And did you become fluent in German?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
How'd you get away?
It was too, you'd have to be, some of my friends were German, German dependents, and I had quite a few friends that were there, so when you did go out in public, they could speak for you and, get along.
So it was your stepfather,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Was in Army or Air Force?
Army.
Was in the Army, and what was his MOS? What did he do in the service?
He was in, let's see, gosh, I can't remember now. His in the building roads and construction.
Construction sounds
Yeah.
like engineers,
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Okay, Corps of Engineers,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
Corps of Engineers
Yeah.
area?
The Army and the Air Force, I get them mixed up in the Army and the Air Force. AFSCs or MOSs are a little different, so,
That's what I'm finding out, yeah. We always refer to it as MOS,
yeah.
and the services do differ in that. So, did you enjoy Nuremberg, your stay there? And you were there, what, how long?
About 2 years.
So you were there 2 years,
Yeah.
long enough to graduate, and then
Yeah.
your parents then came back to the United States.
Yes.
And did your stepfather stay in the service?
He had about one more year, then he retired
And he retired from where?
from
Which base retired out of?
here in Portland.
So that's how you ended up in
Yes,
Portland.
yes.
I was going to get to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And if you tell the story and you ask enough questions, trying to find out how you ended up back here in Portland, what brought you here, and at what age. So you must have been, what, 18, 19
Yeah,
at that area. You already
18.
graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
How soon we forget.
How old? How soon we get old?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
19, I thought I'd never forget this. I don't know. I was.
Good guess. What decade?
Yeah. God. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't remember now. What 19?
But you.
1940. No.
No.
Yeah. That was my age.
But you said you had been drafted.
Yes.
Now, when were you drafted?
When I was.
It was during Vietnam.
Yes.
During
It
Vietnam.
was during Vietnam, and it was. I was just out of the military, out of high school, about 6 or 8 months.
Okay, and you
And I
returned
got-
here to the Gresham area or Portland area in general?
I was in Kansas at that time when I got drafted.
Oh, you'd come to Portland and then had gone back to Kansas.
Yeah. My stepdad was still in the military, and then I got drafted out of Kansas.
So you didn't spend a long period of time here in Portland?
No. Then when I got out of the military, then I came through Portland, and I met my wife there and
Well, wonderful.
got married.
Wonderful. You still married?
Yeah, same.
How many years?
Oh, too many.
Yeah, you're like me, huh? Uh-huh. You're going to be hitting 50 here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you ended up in Kansas and you received a draft notice?
Yes.
and
Congratulations.
Congratulations. They'd like to have your presence. And you ended up going to boot camp where?
Yeah. Went to Kansas City, Kansas, and then went to is in St. Louis. It's been so
Spent any
long.
time at Leavenworth?
No.
Leavenworth, Kansas?
No,
Weren't lucky
yeah,
enough to spend
I
much-
didn't go to jail there either. So
So you went to boot camp
Yes.
in
in
Kansas?
Kansas, yes.
And what base was that?
We're talking about 50 or 60 years ago here.
Well, that's okay. You must have remembered something about boot camp. Tell me about your first day in boot camp.
It was hot and sultry, and we just it rained. It was raining about it was raining about God, I don't know.
Now, what time of the year was that?
This is had to be the winter time.
So
it
it was sultry, but
Yes.
a lot of weather changes. And you were in what area of Kansas? Mid Kansas?
No, but at this time, when you get drafted, you go to the nearest military, and we went to Kansas City.
Right.
And then we went to Missouri, and I forget the town. Missouri.
Oh gosh, there's several bases down around Branson area that are quite well known. I believe Army installations that have been there for a long time. Big history. So that's where you went to boot camp, or were stationed after boot camp.
Stationed after boot camp was I can't remember now. I wish I would have knew what I should have.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning.
Sorry.
Preston, you remember you were in the military.
Yes, I remember that part.
Maybe there were some things you would like to forget, like some of us. We remember the good things.
I was in the infantry, so.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you remember that, and what did you specialize in other than the infantry, or in the Marine Corps 03s?
If you're drafted back then, if you was drafted, you was in the infantry.
Oh, that was it.
And I was. My first job in the infantry was in Vietnam was carrying the base plate of the 81 millimeter mortar.
Well, there's a little weighty subject right there.
Yeah.
81 millimeter mortars.
Yeah.
We had 60s and 81s.
Yeah.
Now, when were you in the Republic of Vietnam?
Da Nang, Chile was our two places. We'd go between the two.
You were down south then. You were out in the bush,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Was there during Tet too.
You were there in 68 then?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize. I thought maybe you'd gotten there a little bit after that, but 1968. So how was it that far south during Tet? I mean, I know the whole country, and especially the southern part of Vietnam was very busy. So you were just attached to a mortar platoon?
I was in let's see, infantry, but I don't know if you call them battalion or platoons. And we was in Da Nang, or not Da Nang, but Chile mostly, and we set the mortars up on usually the highest part,
Sure.
and then during the night put up rounds up for illumination so the other people out in the boondocks could see what's going on.
So you were running illumination and some HE. You had everything available to you.
And then if somebody tried to sneak into the compound and stuff, we had to keep that secure.
So did you have where you're located on any high vantage point with 81 mortars? You probably had some supporting groups around you. Might have had some tanks there, infantry.
Mostly all infantry, and was real close to the coast of.
So you have some artillery in your area.
Yes, yeah, we had mortars and that's about it. We did.
And it's interesting. I like to ask people because I remember what my first thought was the second morning I was there. Do you remember one thought that you had?
Yeah.
When you got to country?
Yeah. We took a ship over. It was an older ship from the States to Vietnam, and then they gave us 2 bullets apiece. Two, and they said we was going to have where you come out of the LSD, we was going to rush that and shoot some people or whatever. And I just remember having 2 rounds, and on your M16.
So you had an M16. You did not have a magazine with 20 rounds.
2 rounds.
You didn't have multiple mags. You had actually. Let me ask you a very serious question.
Yeah.
Where did you actually carry the 2 rounds? In your hand?
in the
So they were in a clip.
yes, in the clip.
But they forgot the other 18.
Well, later on, it was just, I think they, as a ruse, they was just trying to get you scared to death. Going on in Vietnam with virtually no grenades, just 2 rounds of, and then you got in country, then you dug your hole, and you spent the night there. Of course, it was raining, and you was miserable, and
Well, I was miserable with capital letters.
yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you stated they gave you 2 rounds for an M16, and I don't want to tell you all my stories, but I have one that's similar to that. We got into country, and an Amtrak was hit outside the perimeter of Dong Ha, which is up toward the DMZ.
North,
And they decided they wanted to send our platoon out, 2nd Platoon, to set up a perimeter around the Amtrak. And a very similar story. I had an M79, no M79 rounds. I had an M79.
yeah.
No M79 rounds, no machine gun ammunition, no grenades. They handed me a .45 with 1 clip and 7 rounds, and I said, what am I supposed to do with this? Very similar story.
Yeah.
Looking back on that, that wasn't uncommon. I mean, they want to send you into basically combat. You're in a combat zone without ammunition.
Yeah.
Who's running this stupidity? There's a lot of things like this occurred with the young men and women, and at that time, more men than women actually in a combat zone, obviously. But a lot of the listening audience is unaware of these ridiculous occurrences to put somebody into combat completely unequipped.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to deal with it at the age of 19?
16, 17.
18?
Well, 18, yeah, probably 18, yeah.
Not old enough to drink. I find that rather amazing. So it's interesting that you said that. So you were in country how long?
1 year.
Oh, you did spend your 12 months there?
Oh, yeah.
Marine Corps was 13 months.
Oh, okay.
I think, and the other, like corpsmen and medics, were 6. Some specialties were 6 months, and they'd rotate out, depending on what branch you were in and that. So share some of your wildest experiences during your 12-month stay in the beautiful French Indochina, meeting interesting, wonderful, colorful people.
We didn't have that much accessibility to the locals. Just if it was, you just had all military around you for my point of view.
Which I think was good. We too didn't have to deal with civilians up north. Didn't have to deal with VC. You probably ran into VC being further south, but it was NVA. But it was nice not to deal with that element. Snipers,
would be
booby traps, things like that. But the one element we were glad not to deal with were all the civilians. Although on the map, and you probably ran into this too, if you looked at a map, there were what they called no-fire zones. No-fire zone. Even if you drew fire, you weren't allowed to fire back without permission.
Exactly, yeah.
And the reason for that was there might be civilian activity, there might be collateral damage, when in fact nobody was north of Highway 9 that was civilian. It was NVA or us. So to put those restrictions on your own military, and I hear this more and more from folks, and from our current military personnel, they're putting restrictions on you, like you're supposed to be a marriage counselor, you're supposed to counsel people, you're supposed to watch who you shoot. It's wartime. War is war, war is hell. And to put those restrictions on people is a little ridiculous. And another thing that I think a lot of the listening audience is unfamiliar with, don't tell me I can't fire into that zone if somebody's shooting at me. So we changed the rules and we fired back.
Oh.
And that's the way it was.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to fire.
Well, we fired back because we had a great fellow that was working with us, and he didn't take any garbage off anybody. And he said, "Colonel, If it moves, it's dead. If it's one of ours, it shouldn't have been there. We're not going to play this stupid game. And because we plan on going home. But yeah, I find that a little interesting. You can't, all the limitations are just absolutely ridiculous. Well, then don't fight the war, you know?
Yeah.
Don't fight the war. So you ran into the same thing.
Yeah.
But you were lucky that you didn't run into civilians and not knowing. And another critical thing too are the children. The children that were being used then are being used current day that aren't even aware of what they're being used for, and I think that is a tragedy. And the same thing then, it really started, I think, in Vietnam by using young children, which now has come into current day combat and using them for personal explosive devices and grenades and the young people. That's the sad part. I think that's what disturbs me the most, is the mentality that would put children and women in harm's way. And if you look back on it now, a lot of that started in Vietnam. That mentality. So, did you have any exciting experiences while you were there? Anything you remember? Anything that stands out in your mind? Although we do remember the good times, the laughs.
The only thing that really sticks in my mind is when we round up people to interrogate them, and then I saw several times they would put the locals in the helicopter and go up.
Oh, I knew you were going to go there. Go ahead, keep talking. Tell me about it. Tell me about the Korean Marines, the rocks, and what occurred.
And
share that with me.
And shove them out the door, and they would try to. Yeah.
It did happen, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did occur. Now, our people weren't allowed to do it. There might have been a few that did.
So.
But they would question a few, and these are things that people need to know, because first of all, you're a young man in a combat situation. You're there to survive. You're there to go home. You have memories of what we call, do you remember the term the world?
Counting the days.
The world. This is the world. That was the long, thin land. I've never heard that referred to in a movie as a long, thin land. The long, thin land was Southeast Asia, Vietnam, South Vietnam, French Indochina. We called it the long, thin land, and the only other place you wanted to be was the world, which is here, where we are now.
The world,
and those were, I've never heard those terms, world, especially the long, thin land, used in a movie. And if we all made a movie, we'd have different perspectives, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But that is the first time I've heard anybody say that, except from what I'm familiar with myself, with the helicopters and the questioning, and we're all worried about waterboarding today, and yet those things occurred. And nobody said war is nice. It is not nice. But I don't think we'll ever do away with it, for one reason: greed. Greed in mankind. No matter how much we want peace, there's so much greed in the world, and selfishness, and basic ignorance. What's your perspective of Vietnam now?
My perspective, Vietnam now, I probably would have been tempted not to show up.
I have the same thought after all of these years.
I was a military brat. Okay, so then you had a lot of pressure behind you to do what your dad was doing, and not military brat. So that put you in a category. You didn't want to do anything to shame your father. So you did a lot more stuff.
We had a tradition. We had a history. We have pride. We have honor, integrity. That's what we worked on as young folks. After all of these years, my perspective has changed tremendously, which I won't go into right now. But my perspective has changed, and I'm sure yours has too. What was it all about? What was it all about? Why did we put pieces of bodies in body bags and send them home and looking now retrospectively, what did they really give their lives for? And I won't say it was in vain, but what did they give their lives for to now see what's going on currently in this country? That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a tough one, and it personally makes my eyes bleed sometimes. And it does with all of us. And we try to function in the world that we perceive it should be. But there are things here that irritate us. And and I'm sure you do, have concerns about where we're going, where we're going to get the respect that we think we should get, because we're not the cause of all the trouble in the world. And you've experienced it, so you have a foundation for your thoughts and beliefs. True experiences. You didn't read them out of a book someplace or go to college and get a degree on how the world should work. But you came back when?
Just a year in Vietnam, so then came back and let's see, what did we do after we came back? It's been so long.
But you were stationed here in the States for a period of time before you were discharged. You remember where you were stationed?
It's in, gosh. I wish.
Well, it was in the United States somewhere,
Oh,
right?
yes, yeah. Okay. After Vietnam, got back in the States, and then we was released in Kansas City, and they gave you a bus ticket home. That's about it.
Did you run into, what was your reception coming home? Did you run into or witness any of the horror stories that many of us heard about? How were you received coming back from Vietnam?
Not too awfully bad. You know, I've heard stories about coming back and he was a baby killer, and you know, is a lot. He was. The majority of the people I saw that was coming back just kind of let it go off their backs, you know, and didn't.
I'm glad to hear that, because many of us did. We didn't worry about Jane Fonda. Today I don't worry about Jane Fonda. I didn't worry about Jane Fonda then.
Oh, you went to a USO show then?
No, I never went to a USO show, but I mean the stories you hear, you know, now, today, people still have an issue with that.
Yeah.
I have more things in my life to be concerned about, and proudly enough, many veterans do. They let those things go, they put the uniform down, they went to work, they got married, they raised a family, they bought a home and the lives for the most part. I won't say the veterans, unlike any other war, any other conflict, the end result is the same for those people who've experienced that with your now called PTSD or shell shock or battle fatigue, and as they've changed the name over the years. But we went on and we worked, and we were able to be productive, I think, is my perception of it. And the difference working with vets is today the jobs are harder to find. There are many, many tours being served, unlike us, without a draft. And a lot of the young people are confused when they come home without being able to find a job, not knowing when they're going to be deployed again. Would be confusing for me.
Yeah.
And so I think we have some extra issues with that because of the times that folks like you and I didn't realize. What is your impression of that? You went on and worked. I mean, my gosh, you're still working.
Yeah.
Close to retirement. I see a smile on your face. Close to retirement. Yeah. But we went out and we were able to be productive. I think it was easier to go get a job and put those things aside, and that's what many, many people did. And apparently you did.
Yeah, yeah. When I got out, I joined the military. Was my family for a while, and so I joined the Air National Guard, and got to see the world. We deployed in several countries, and it was really
That's
fun
what I want.
and
That's what I want to
interesting.
talk about for the listening audience, because I do meet more and more people who've spent a number of years and whole careers in National Guard, Air Guard, after a few years active in the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, etc. So you were actually 2 years active, but you had overall you had a 6-year obligation as most.
Yeah.
No matter how many were active, you might have had 2, 3,
Yeah,
4,
that's
whatever.
right, yeah.
But you came home. You were discharged from the Army, and then you went to work where?
I got an apprenticeship as a steam fitter and a pipe fitter, and I was working as that. And then,
That was here in Portland?
yes.
And at the same time, you were in the Air Guard.
Yes.
So you were stationed here at, you spent most of all of your time here at PANG,
Yeah.
Portland Air National Guard, which a lot of people don't remember
Yeah,
PANG. It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
on the window sticker, PANG. Tell me about some of your travels with the Air Guard.
It was, I enjoyed the traveling and going to different countries and things like that. And it was
So,
invaluable. I was married and had a couple kids at home too, so
so when you transferred to the Air Guard, then what was your, I would refer to it as MOS?
AFS, the
AFS.
AFSC.
What did you do there to be able to do that much traveling?
I was a state employee because I was an employee at the air base.
Employee at the Air Base?
Yeah. So then,
Were you actually in the Air Guard?
yes,
Okay, okay.
then
And how many years?
I spent as a technician out there. I spent probably 15 years.
And you saw what countries? Tell me about some of that.
Oh,
Come on, you're smiling. Tell me about some of that.
been to Germany 2 or 3 times, and let's see, Spain. What's some? Germany, Spain, England. We as civil engineering, so we went in and set up the base and then got it working, and then they would ship us out someplace else and do
Okay,
the same
civil
thing.
engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
what
heating-
schooling did you have to transition into that area of endeavor?
Well, my AFSC or MOS was heating and air conditioning. So somebody had to be there to set up the perimeter, and it depends on if it's wartime conditions. Then you had a lot of security around them.
All of these support groups and all of those things that the general public isn't aware of. And I've spoken with several people, and those support groups are interesting because the comment I've heard from some young folks apparently have been brainwashed and really should try to get an education before they make stupid comments. And the comment I hear quite a bit is, well, I'm not going to go into service and go get killed.
No.
Well, sadly enough, there are a lot of career opportunities in the military, a lot of great education that you don't have to pay for,
Yeah.
a lot of experience you can use, as apparently you have, after military experience.
Yeah. Got to see the country, the world really.
And you see the world.
Yeah.
You didn't pay for it. You had a great time. You got a great education that you can take into civilian life. And a small percentage of people in the overall military never see combat.
Yeah.
What is that, 1%? Some
Yeah.
ridiculous percentage of people that see combat as compared to the total people in the military. because they're spread out all over the world and doing things like you did. And those are the obligations, the career opportunities that I think a lot of our young people need to be aware of.
Yes, yeah, I agree. So.
And you do what now?
I'm retired.
You're retired?
Yes.
No, you're not completely retired. You're not completely retired. Or are you?
Yeah, pretty much.
But you work where?
Well, I worked for, my civilian job, I did heating, air conditioning, and the Guard I did heating, air conditioning.
There you go. So you brought that into civilian life.
Yeah.
And you worked for whom?
Several heating, air conditioning. In construction, you move from one field to the other. So I worked for most of the heating, air conditioning places in town.
Now, have you worked for the city of Portland?
City of Portland, yeah, mostly, but.
So as a contractor or subcontractor, or did you work directly for the city of Portland?
For the city of Portland.
Oh, you worked for the city of Portland?
Yeah.
See, for the listening audience, look how that transitioned into, well, civil service job.
Yeah.
All of it's civil service, but in civilian life. And you said you're retired, or you're not retired, or you're thinking about retirement?
I'm drawing a retirement, so I must.
Now, did you retire and then go back, as many do, as a advisor, or you hire back on as a consultant, or you help out once in a while?
Well, my main job was in civil engineering as a heating, air conditioning, and I don't know.
But you say civil engineering. That's a great title, civil engineering. What college did you have?
Just military schools. And
that was my point. Civil engineering, a great career, and yet you didn't get that in college because you got that education in the military, and you built on that year after year. And that's what I think a lot of people should understand. I think you've had a great life. Now tell me about your marriage. How's your marriage? You've been married how many years?
Same woman for the last 42 years.
42 years, wow. Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And that's a tough goal to achieve in the last 30, 40 years because it's too easy for people to separate.
Oh, yeah.
It's too acceptable. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy, did they?
No.
You go through that, do you go through that?
Yeah.
Two individuals coming together and staying together that long, I found out. I think the whole relationship takes that long to finally get to what you thought it started on, that you maybe finally get to know each other after all those years. And that's maybe the culmination of a good life.
Yeah.
So I think you've had a pretty decent life.
Yeah.
You've worked for it.
Yeah.
And you've been blessed.
Good wife, 2 kids. Throughout all these years, so it's,
What else is there?
Yeah.
Fulfilled your goals. Mine were simple. Those were mine.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities, but the simple goals in life, and those are the blessings, I think. And man, oh man. Anything else that's on your mind you want to talk to me about or share with the folks?
No.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Preston, because you said you don't talk a lot, and I figured, well, you're going to be in a position where you're going to say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and I don't know. And there were a few things that you didn't know or couldn't remember, and a few things that I probably don't remember myself. But I think we can get ready to go away here. And I'll tell you what, I've had a totally enjoyable time.
Yeah, thank you.
I love your laugh, your blessed life, your career. I wish you the best in the future.
Good Marine handshake too.
Good Marine handshake. No, that's just an old guy. That's an old guy with a young brain. See.
When we were in Vietnam, we would go with the Marines and go on and there was, yeah. There was a
We had to have good Army
Yeah,
personnel
yeah,
with us.
yeah.
It took. See, that's the other thing. It took everybody to do a job, didn't it? Took everybody to do a job. And the Navy's always on the Marine Corps. Well, you know what? You know, we're the Navy, and you're the Marines, and you're the guys, and I usually quell that argument by saying, I realize that all of our orders came out of the Department of the Navy. We are a Department of the Navy, and thank goodness that you people were giving us the maps, or I'd probably still be lost somewhere in Southeast Asia. So thank you to the Navy, and all of a sudden the argument's all gone. But everybody in every capacity, in every military, and every job description had work to do. It will not work without all those facets, will it? And it's been great.
Yeah.
And we'll get this all done, and I'm sure we'll see it here at Metro, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the Library of Congress will be happy with it. And thank you to the crew here, to Frank and Susan, and it's always enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for joining us. And until next time, when we get to share some thoughts from one of our veterans, you have a safe journey wherever life leads you.